So
Hello, everybody.
it's a good start.
I think I'm a frozen frame.
Oh, you are frozen. Too much is going on.
Yeah,
Let's see.
couldn't handle.
Disembodied voice. It's fine. Probably. Hopefully you come back. Otherwise, you can just talk to the people. Right. Well, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Andrew. I also go by Avarem on the internet sometimes. And I am the creative director at Shiny Shoe. Worked on Monster Train. Work on other things that we do. We were just talking about Death's Door. Look it up sometime. Uh, yeah, Brendan, introduce
Yeah, I'm
yourself.
Brendan. Redbeard online in all the different places. Lore master. So I've written all the stuff that you see in the game. Have generally own all of the events. So deal with all the design and building those and touch a lot of different things. So yeah.
All right. That sounds about right to me. Okay, so we're here today. Obviously, many of you played our DLC, upcoming DLC. If you didn't, if you somehow are here and you haven't heard about it, it is The Last Divinity. You can see the screen. Today we are, obviously, you guys played it. We're here more to like answer questions. We're going to talk about lore. Brendan, very much the lore guy. We're going to play the events. Maybe you didn't see all the events in the DLC yet, so we're going to play through some events. Talk about what's going on with those, take your questions. The number one question, let's just answer it right now so you don't even have to ask. When is it coming out? We do not yet have a release date. Obviously, the time between the test and the launch here is longer than it's been for previous updates. And that is, I think, hopefully, obviously, because this is huge. Like, this is, in some ways, as complicated as launching the original game itself, adding a lot of new combinations to the game, a lot of new features, a lot of new balancing. We really want to take our time and make sure it's really, really good. We are doing kind of more internal testing still. The testing and the data from the public feedback was great. We do not have a release date yet. It is going to be a bit still. And we'll have more news hopefully soon. But I did want to, say that, and we're gonna like localize it. We're bringing it to all of our platforms, all this stuff. There's a lot of work that kind of goes on behind the scenes to launch something like this. So we are looking forward to polishing it up and then bringing it out to all of you as soon as we can. Um,
Yeah. Thanks again, everyone, for all of the really, really great feedback. We got a lot
oh
over the
yeah,
weekend, and we're working hard right now to sift through all of that and making a lot of changes. So thanks a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. And Light Phoenix 23 asks, was a bit helpful for getting feedback. Absolutely. And then, do you look at places like Reddit for feedback? Yeah, we look at Reddit. We look at Discord. We look at the F8 button that you guys pushed and gave us feedback. We look at that. We look at just run data we collect in general and figure out what is winning, what is not winning, what's good, what's bad, all those things. We look everywhere, and we add it to a bunch of feedback. And we are doing a ton of changes right now, and then we're going to keep testing those and polishing those, and then bring it out
Yep.
to you guys. Um, okay, cool, great. Well, yeah, we'll grab a couple more questions maybe as you guys are chatting in chat, and then we're gonna dive in and start some of these events. I'll kind of start a run. Do you want to like look for a question, Brendan? Do you have
Yeah, sure.
the doc? Cool.
Yeah. First one from Amphid. Why is it called a glug cider, and what's a fen?
Perfect
So
questions.
glug cider, it just doesn't that seem like a really suitable name for a big slug looking thing? Glug, it's on the top side of the bogworm remains, so it's just sifting through all that glug. And then a fen is everything that's on that glug side. So anything that's on like the top side that is really a lot more monstrous, like the bog wormlings, things that are like at visibly more like monstrous and seem like they're not that intelligent, is a fen.
True stories. I will point out also one other thing. So yeah, based on feedback, something we changed right off the bat here is folks were like, so when you beat the new final boss, the real final boss now, by getting 100 pack shards, winning against Seraph, fighting the last divinity, and then beating it, you can divine master cards. And some people said, so before there was this watermark here, they said it was maybe a little too subtle. So we added a little extra decoration here around the edges and the borders in the text box to make it a little less subtle. So when you Divine Master cards now, you get this little decoration in your text box that shows you did it. So a whole new thing to do with all of your cards. Get the Bone Dog again. Good luck. I know Genesee loves it when people want to see the Bone Dog more. Okay. So yeah. Well, I'm not going to go over stuff we've already showed, stuff you guys have already experienced. I will dive right into these events. Also, I'm going to put up the loading screen so you don't see our cheats. Secret things happening behind the scenes. Keep dropping questions. Okay.
Yeah, let's do another question. So from Crowhex. First of all, the new content brought me back to the game on the public test train. I love these types of deck building roguelikes, but Monster Train was always missing one of my favorite components, the curse mechanic. This update brought that to the front in a very fun way and rewarding or super punishing. Thanks for the amazing new content, and I can't wait for it to go live. Thanks, Crowhex. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to come back to the game.
And Try Science, hopefully I said that right, said, is the new Wormlink clan available to everyone or DLC only? It is DLC only. Yep. We've done a bunch of free DLC for people up to this point. This is our paid DLC launch. Big expansion of the game. It has, the combining of units. It has a bunch of new clanless artifacts. It has a new clan. It has new mutators. It has new challenges. It has a new final boss. It has new upgrades, new events, all of these things, part of the DLC. So, yeah, we wanted to make it really worth it and kind of add something to every part of the game, and I think we did it.
Yeah. Speaking of new events,
Right.
So I'm going to read this. I'm going to try and do it justice. I'm not marked,
yeah.
unfortunately, but we'll try. An arcane machine peeks through the snow, mechanical arms and controls in various states of disrepair. The large harness in the center looks to have held something vaguely familiar, but you can't place what. Near the opening of the train, a metal control board stands relatively untouched, clean even, strange. When you move towards it, the board whirs to life and a single button with a diamond icon flashes at you. Do you press the button?
Do we press the button?
Well, we got to press the button.
We got to press the button. That's why we're here. We're here to press the button.
So a lot of people have seen this event. This is a new building a card event. This is something that we have talked about for a while. Like this was early on, and we had a version of this a while back when we were prototyping the game, but it never really quite gelled, and we hadn't quite figured out a way to make this compelling. But I think we've built out enough pieces that we were able to do it a little bit more interesting this way. Yeah, next step. The machine moans in response. Additional prompts appearing on the control panel. A row of levers rises from the metal board, each one adorned with symbols you can only assume refer to various elemental effects. What do you press?
I'm going to push the life one. Is there extra story here? Did this machine come from somewhere? Can we tell people?
Maybe at the end.
Maybe at the end. Okay, great.
Machine moans in response. Additional prompts appearing on the control panel. You press the life icon. A row of levers rises from the metal board, each one adorned with symbols you can only assume refer to various health-related effects. What do you pull?
I'm just going to make this really good at healing.
All right. Machine moans in response. Additional prompts appearing on the control panel. You press the life icon. You selected smooth waves, that great music genre. Several switches appear on the board, each one decorated with a complex series of symbols you can't decipher. Do you switch any of them on? The symbols that have something to do with space, symbols have to do with power.
I like card draw. It's usually overpowered.
Buttons and levers on the control panel recede into the metal box as the entire device sinks into the ground. The metal harness clamps shut, likely trying to embrace whatever once existed in its grasp. But as the metal arms link, the train starts to shudder. No, your pyre starts to rumble, perhaps in recognition. Before any logical thought can form, a blinding flash of light knocks you back. What's left behind is a polished black orb, not unlike the pyre itself. Do you take the orb? Let's leave it, not take it. Back away.
We're not going to take it? Look at this.
No, we can't take it.
This is my dream. I've always wanted this card. All right, you're right. I don't want this. It was all a mistake. Nope.
Best leave relics of the arcane.
This isn't a real run.
Especially those of the pyre-shaking variety. So yeah, there definitely is lore with this. You will come back. There's an event later on, which I think we'll show later on in the stream, which comes back here and kind of talks about this is where the pyre was created. This DLC is very lore heavy in trying to explain a lot of the things that exist in the base game that may not have been answered in the base game, so trying to just give a little bit more lore. So yeah, that's the build card event. Let's throw another one,
Right.
and then
Next
I can
one.
take a question.
Yeah, let's. Are there any? Right, we'll do one more and then we'll grab questions. I know we have a little backlog here building in.
Cool. Let's do one more. All right, this is a big one. A pillar of light spews strange fragments into the air, making the way ahead dangerous. The Bone Shaker grinds to a halt on its own, perhaps recognizing the odd power emanating from the pillar. There's a lot of Bone Shaker recognition. The air is stale, imperceptible even, no longer stinging with the outer chill, but also devoid of life entirely. You feel the urge to hold your hand to the light, unsure of what may occur, but something in the back of your mind urges caution. Oh, but the light does beckon, and do you listen? So this is another big event. This is kind of like the unit synthesis stuff where you get to merge two spells. So it functions differently than how unit synthesis does, where unit synthesis, each unit has its own authored essence, where it's stat buffs or triggers or kind of like a distilled version of each unit. This takes the basic version of your spell and of two spells and then pushes it into a card. So it'll drop all your upgrades. It's only going to infuse this Nexus Spike with the basic versions of those two cards, but it won't purge the two cards. So you still get to keep your super upgraded whatever cards you put in there. But let's try merging a couple.
All right, let's do it. I don't even know what spells I have. Right.
Oh,
Right.
starter cards.
Yeah. Sure. So do you have a preference? I mean, we can just do.
Let's do Dripfall.
Let's do Dripfall. That's a good card.
Yeah.
And another. Can we do two?
Yeah,
Should we do
do
two? I've never done this before. I've never merged two Dripfalls. This is scaring me. I want to do it.
Entranced, you reach into the unknown power and the light consumes you. Flashes of Hellborn and humans and those of heaven flicker past in this strange pocket realm. As if refocusing it, their life force can be felt like molten brands in your head. And looming beyond it all, a booming darkness unlike anything you've ever felt, a void of life and death and goodness, the divinity. When you pull your hand out, a remnant of the all-power divinity comes with you. You now you are not alone.
We're not alone.
So now you got this new card.
Yeah, I want to go look at it.
Yeah.
There it is. So it's just going to do that twice.
Yep. Send a unit, apply days 1, and it's going to double that up.
Okay, fantastic. I want to play this run later.
Yeah. So this part, the mechanics of this is a little tricky because spells have a lot of range compared to units. Like there's all the different targeting. You can do random target, front of a room, all the different spells that we have. So there is a little bit of behind the scenes filtering that we're doing to make sure that spells are merged correctly. So you can only merge like direct targeting spells with other direct targeting spells, and then spells like anything that applies frostbite to a whole room or something like that will also merge with only other room spells. So yeah, you want to take some questions?
Let's take some questions. I'll pull a few here off that were targeted at the mechanics.
Yeah.
It's kind of my area. Whenever it comes to lore, I'm just like, as long as Brendan makes it cool, I'm good with it. I just need to know how the mechanics work. All right, so Shirkstalker asks, how does holdover override consume? And this is kind of an old question. These are slightly older mechanics. Obviously, these traits exist in the real game. No, it does not. And that's why we usually don't let you. This is an area of massive amounts of debate on our team, on people who give us feedback. Like, should you be able to put holdover on something that gives consume, or that has consume, even though it's not going to work because you could remove consume later? In general, I believe at this point, like we've gone back and forth so much, you can't. But yeah, so if it ever ends up on the same card, consume will consume it, and it will not hold over if you were to somehow add consume. That is just mostly because of balance. Holdover is already very, very good. Consume is already very good. If you were able to remove consume, you could then add holdover to a card. Have fun. It's very often very powerful. But
yeah, that was a big point of contention for all of us.
Yeah, that's it's a game like this where you can combine just absolutely everything in it, and then we let you upgrade it and modify everything. There's always going to be these kind of questions. And here's a question maybe for you.
A Tord Nordos asks,
Yes.
How does the Pillar of Light combine spell work with Extract? So the way that it works is if you combine it's going to take extract if a card has extract. If both cards have extract, it's going to take the higher cost. And so it's not going to combine it. It's not going to add it. Like if extract 2 and extract 1, it's not going to be extract 3. It's just going to be extract 2. So it's a little smarter in terms of how it's handling those.
And then Light Phoenix 23 asks, is there anything that we wanted to add to the DLC that didn't really work out? That's a really good question. I think probably the area, so like the fundamental features, I would actually say we got to do everything we wanted to do. We knew we wanted to add this sort of risk reward shard mechanic. We knew we wanted to add the ability to combine units. We wanted to add like random upgrades to enemy units in battles. We wanted to add more randomness to battles and more variety to battles without just making a bunch of new enemy types. And so we got to do that with the shard stuff, and that worked out. Probably the most changes have been that final boss. We've just done a lot of things with it. We had it not have relentless. We had it have relentless. So there's things in that definitely didn't work out. I mean, like, with bosses in general and with fights in general in this game, for people who've been around, they've definitely seen us iterate on this. We generally try pretty extreme things, and we usually kind of dial it back a bit because the game is about you building up your strategy and playing the way you want to play your deck. And when we deviate kind of too much from, like when we throw a real big wrench in the works, it usually makes people frustrated who have tried to kind of build their deck a certain way, and then if it just kind of destroys it, it can lead to a lot of frustration. So we try to make things challenging. Obviously, the game is a challenging game. But we also don't want to make fights that change it just too drastically. But in order to be creative and to make a variety of fights, we do often start in the more extreme area and then dial it back to get it to the right point where it feels different but not too punishing or extreme. So I would say that's where we made the most changes.
I do think to that question, though, we fit a lot into this DLC. And I don't think that there's anything that blatantly that we're like, we don't think we can fit this in.
Right.
We're pretty successful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look at this node. Look at how cool that's technology.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's it.
That represents.
That's a DLC in itself.
Right. Like, I mean, just that's where we went. We just amped it up. We took it straight up to 11, as they say. Okay, let's do more events. I will do the next one because there's absolutely no way at this rate we are going to get through this list you gave me. But we will definitely try.
I'm going to take one more question from Uranic. Were all additional events of the DLC already in the beta? Yes, all the events were in the beta. So it's possible that if you played the public test train last weekend, then you could have seen everything. But could have not because RNG. But everything's in. All right, so this is another new event with a character called Malika, who's somebody that we've been talking about for a little bit of time. So since we launched the game, we've had an idea of the updates that we've wanted to do. So we've been trying to create a little bit longer of a string for the lore teasing that we're doing. So Malika is something that is someone that we introduced in Wild Mutations. And Mohammed Marimo on the team has really done an awesome job. Malika is very much his creation, someone that he has designed and written and done a really wonderful job with. And originally, she came from this idea of wanting to explain why do mutators exist in the world. And Wild Mutations, the first free update that we put out all these new mutations, or all these new mutators, and we wanted to have this kind of chaotic, neutral character that just really was going to mess with you no matter what. So this is Malika in one of the events. So yeah, a mysterious woman stands before you, a mischievous smirk painted on her face. You feel a strange force emanate from her presence. Its pressure so strong you worry the bone shaker might collapse. Remember me, Hellborn? You probably don't thanks to the loop, but it's Malika, your bestie. Last time you wanted to play cards, but that was boring, so let's try something else. I have 3 trinkets, all of which make your life much worse than it already is. Take some. If they kill you, I win. If they don't, you win. Take as many trinkets as you can bear to carry. So yeah, this is something that I also know that a lot of people had seen in the public test. So this is a new event where all of these artifacts are effectively mutators. So they're all negative. They're not anything that you necessarily want to take. But later on, in a few battles after this, you're going to see a follow-up event that replaces this with something much better. So there was a lot of good feedback that it wasn't super clear that you were going to get something later on. So we've tried to make that a little bit better, and we're continuing to do some stuff. But that is definitely the point of this, is that it's a negative up front. You're really taking on that risk to hopefully reap that reward later. Yeah, you
I
want
always
to
like
take a
this.
couple?
I like this one just most of the time. I mean, it can backfire, but you can get rid of your weaker
Yeah, it's a good
units.
way to thin your deck.
Yeah. Speaking of which, speaking of getting rid of the train stewards, I do like this table. Behind her that has
It's a little,
the little steward figures, the little
yeah,
bone shaker. All
good
right,
merch.
we're gonna get
Good
it
merch.
exactly. All right, we're taking all of them. Do we get
All right.
death is not the end?
That
Oh
is
wait,
not the end.
call back. Great. Okay, so did we get new
So if you want
questions?
to load the next one, and it'll
Load the next one. All right.
the follow up. So that's something, I know somebody had a question about this. So Karmic Guide, I got the blank pages artifact a few times, but don't really know where they came from. Is it a Caverns relic or one of those like between rings sort of things? So it is definitely one of those between rings sort of things. So with the DLC, one of the things that we focused more on is uh, automatic events. I don't really have a name for them. I think between rings sort of things is kind of a good name, where events are going to pop up more often in between battles. So this is one of them where it is possible, if you're playing a Last Divinity run, that you can see this Malika Mutator event, and it's not going to be something that you click on the map. The blank pages event that Karmic is talking about is one of those as well, which I don't want to spoil here because I don't think a lot of people saw that one, and we won't talk about it here, but it's an end game event that is pretty fun. All right, so Malika appears before you, surprised by the fact that you're not yet dead. The pressure emanated by her presence continues to feel nauseating. You only won because I went easy on you. Well, kudos to you for surviving this long. I'm going to take those trinkets back and give you your prize now. Maybe it'll help you smack Seraph the whatever into oblivion for the umpteenth time. Maybe it won't. Either way, somebody's going to die and I'm going to watch. Go on then, claim your prize. So because we took all three, we get all three of these new artifacts.
And so we don't have a choice to keep our bad artifacts. It's always gonna take them.
It's always going to lose them. I guess, if
It's
you want to
okay.
keep them.
I don't want to keep them. They're terrible. Cursed. All right. Bam. Look at that.
Nice.
We got 5 health. Yeah, those are all really good. Endless. Oh, sometimes also a curse. Piercing.
You should just play through all these events and then really go through the run. See how
Yeah, see how strong I'm gonna be.
you're.
For sure. I was gonna answer some questions. What was good questions? The Juke 83 asked, "Did you consider allowing a loss against Big Bad, meaning the Last Divinity, final boss, counting as a win against Seraph?" Yeah, we had some debate. Actually, and that's another area where we sort of changed things over time. Originally, we were like, well, maybe it should still count as a win. It's more of a bonus fight. In the end, basically, we decided that the thing that made the most sense, just from like understanding how the game works, is when you lose, you lose. When you win, you win. And if you know you're going into that final battle, you know you're taking a chance where you might win, you might lose. And from a sort of like score and quote unquote progression point of view, we count it both as a win against Seraph and its own unique kind of win that gives you other new unlocks like Divine Mastery and Logbook unlocks and things like that. Expert Challenge wins have a special icon. Basically, everything that you can tracks against the Last Divinity wins. So we did want it to feel like, well, if you don't win, that is a loss. That's sort of how winning and losing works. But you do also get a nice big bonus reward in terms of logbook progression, in terms of doing that, and score. And Shaheen asks, question, do you have any existing plans for future paid DLC expansions? Any idea how long players will have to wait between release of expansions? We are very excited about Monster Train, excited about all these things. As usual, to some degree, it depends on the reception of this. This is a really big update. If people are really excited about it, they really go for it, show up for it, then we would probably continue to do more. I can't promise anything, obviously. But also, there's a chance we might do smaller updates again or smaller paid elements that you could add to the game. We basically are looking to see what the community wants, how they respond to this DLC, other things. We love Monster Train, though. Monster Train is great. We love our community. And maybe it's even things outside of updating Monster Train itself. A lot of ideas we're kicking around. Obviously, the reception to the game has been fantastic. You guys are great. Everyone's really enjoying the game. and the world, the setting, and the mechanics. And so we're talking about what we can do, but there is nothing for us to talk about right now. Right now, we are very, very, very focused on launching this DLC. Basically, all hands on deck for this DLC. And once it's out there, once we see the reception, we're going to start figuring out what we're going to do in the future. Cool. More events?
Yeah, let's do it. While you're loading that, there's a couple of merge-related mechanic questions that I'll answer.
Great.
First is Awesome 3475. If you merged an attack and healing spell, would it work with both Tethys -1 cost for attacks and the Awoken -1 cost for healing? It should. That seems like a combination that definitely should work, and I think it does. I can't confirm, but if it doesn't, it should. Yeah.
DMRT says Monster Plane, ? Sorry.
Monster Plane, the sequel?
You know, Monster Plane. I like it, you know. As long as we don't have to pay royalties now, since they suggested it.
Oh, shoot. Okay, new one. This one's a fun one. The Shivering Blacksmith braces against the stinging wind. From afar, one would easily mistake her for a small mountain. It's not like I want to come out here, you know. Just, you always come by the forge at the worst times, and it's always so much business that I forget some of the other more important things I'm working on. Oh, anyways, I'm working on something new. A hammer source. And yes, before you can ask, she'll help out you and your sorry lot. It's just, well, she doesn't work like she should. Got a bit of a mind of her own. So I figure you could take her with you and help me out for once. Just needs a little fine-tuning is all. Hitting those birds around 5 times ought to do the trick. So you up for a little fine-tuning. So we're going to get Hef's hammer. Or a different hammer, not the one she's holding, but good old Wingmaker.
I like the art on this card. It's good.
Yeah, this one's
fun. I do feel like in general, since the end, you know, you always kind of dial in your process making any game, and we really dialed in the sort of asset creation. And so for the DLC, I mean, it's all really coming together. Everything looks good. All right, so we're going on a little quest here, right? We have a little objective now.
So we have a couple of these kinds of events, which are like quest events, where you have to do a little bit of an objective. So we have this with automatic rail spikes or spike driver colony, where you have to replicate those.
Do I need to get the kills with this, or just hit? Just
do trigger the next one.
Trigger the next one.
Yeah.
Or I mean for the player. I mean right now, obviously, I'm cheating.
Well, yeah, definitely for the player, you have to kill 5 things, trigger 5 times, and then the event will show up after the battle where you achieve that objective.
So you kill 5 things with a hammer.
Yep.
And then you are going to see the event that I am loading up right now.
Which pretend we've done.
Right. We're very good at this game.
Yeah. Well, how'd she work out for you? Were you able to work out all the kinks? Here, let me take a look. What in 9 rings did you do to this thing? Looks like you tried to tear apart the rail with it. And then when that didn't work, you ran it over with the bone shaker to forget about it altogether. It's going to take me a long time to get her back and healthy. A real long time. So I guess I'm coming with you. What, you're not going to let me come? And of course we have to let Hef come with us. We can't turn her down.
Can't. So I like what we do with Hef, which is just made this like lore or like theme specific upgrade. You're like, Hef's too big, obviously. So gotta have this upgrade, bring her down to the right size. And then, build up that floor. Also, we're getting endless, but we get endless from our artifacts, not from Hef.
Yeah.
So
cool. Yeah. So this event, not this follow-up, but the first one, I think, has a whole different path where if you don't take the hammer, you get some pretty sweet upgrades. So she is a lot more forgiving than she seems to be. So that is Hef.
Okay. Oh, we're going to be fine. We have only 2 more events now.
Let's
we're
take
turning through this. Yeah, let's answer some questions slowly. Fly Penguin says, what's the mechanic / thing / art that you're both most proud of in the DLC? Oof. All right. How can you choose amongst all of your...
It's the favorite child question.
Favorite children.
You have hundreds and hundreds of favorite children.
I mean, I like the shards worked out. I like the unit upgrading that's working out. The shards are fun. They're just a fun mechanic. It's always hard, when we really polished original monster training. We added a lot of stuff to it, and we're like, how do we expand the game without totally, breaking it apart or needing to redo a lot of things? And I thought that was a pretty clean way to add a little extra risk versus reward and a little extra decision making at this sort of meta level. The decision, the map node level, that is clear and clean and an interesting choice. So that is one of the ones that I like. How about you?
I've been a fan of just the synthesis in general, both for units and for spells. I think that's something that we had talked about pretty early on and really doubled down on here. And, Monster Train's a game about weird, crazy combinations, and allowing you to combine cards just opens that up so much more. And it mainly because I'm just excited to see the crazy things that people come up with. People have already come up with really crazy things.
Right. You fixed a lot of bugs related to those.
Many, many bugs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many, many more. But it's really awesome just having that system interact in ways that you don't expect. So it's the fun of the game.
That it is. All right. Well, do you want to grab one or two more questions while I load up the next event?
Mars, Greek god, question. If you could steal content from other universes and just patch in all the lore factions, would you? Of course. This would be awesome as just like a catch-all, like weird combination universe. That'd be super fun. That's something Andrew and I have talked about for, possible other projects. Amphid, why is Divinity such a sad boy? If you were the last Divinity, wouldn't you be a sad boy too? Like, you're the last one, all your friends are gone. You're gonna be sad. You're not happy about it.
It's true. I'm crying on the inside right now.
Yeah. Okay, new event. So this guy is familiar. This defector, trader, whatever you want to call him. So the Bone Shaker barely even stops before the scrawny winged scavenger starts talking. I got this feeling I can't shake that we've met already in another life. Lots of times, in fact. Like, we just keep doing this over and over and over again, but just go on resetting and forgetting. Makes you think about our existence and a larger purpose here, Your everyday metaphysical despair kind of stuff. Anyways, why don't I help you ruffle those bastards' feathers, eh? So this is another card that we have talked about for a while, of recruiting another enemy. And I think there's kind of an open debate if this card or the upgrades is the better route to go. So I actually want to go upgrade on this one, because I think
you do. We've also nerfed this, right? This is going to be for the people who played in the beta. You will notice this card has changed. It might change more. We don't know. We're going to test this one, but just to call it out, we're making changes. You guys are seeing the latest build right now, so you will see, hopefully, some things updated. So we're going to upgrade a unit.
Yeah, so this is going to give you some Sunderstone or Sapstone. So it's a strike, apply melee weakness, or summon Sap 4. Both of which are pretty solid.
So very good.
Yeah. So let's do one of those.
Does the strike, for people's actually, and I don't think I ever took this one. Does it applies kind of on your next hit, right? So you'll hit them, and then it's going to you have to hit them again to get the benefit.
It's not going to be apply the melee weakness and then apply the damage. It's going to apply the damage first and then the melee weakness. So your follow-up attack.
Yeah, but you could put something in front that could like it could be good on a heavy unit in the front and line up for your attacker in the back.
Exactly.
So like maybe Hef wouldn't be great. Hef just does everything. Hef is too strong. Train Steward though. Train Steward. This is going to be the best Train Steward we ever made.
There you go. See another life. So yeah, that guy has a lot of upgrades. I think there's a couple that weren't shown there. Similar to a lot of the events, there are a lot of options that we are randomizing. So there's going to be things that you see on one run that you're not going to see on another, like those upgrades or like options in the build card. There's a lot of different routes that you can go for the build card that we don't show you. We show you maybe like a third or half of them every event. So yeah, that's the recruit event. So I think we got a couple more events. Yeah.
We have got one more event on my list that you gave
me.
So yeah.
Let's take some questions.
Sure. If we have.
WSS171 asks, hey guys, question here. What's the deal with Malika's legs? Is it a reference to the Winged or a new clan? It is a reference to the Winged. So Malika, as a chaotic character, is very much an amalgamation of the existing clans in the game and possibly things that don't exist in the game right now. But she's kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge of those different things. And that was something that we worked a long time on, of wanting to make sure individual elements of her stuck out and were really recognizable as like her Bogworm Mega Man arm. We thought was super cool, so we wanted to call that out even more. But the winged legs also was an important part of that. Amphid, how many old magics are there? There are as many as your heart desires. Just duplicate until you can duplicate no more, and that's how many there
are. There's a question from earlier. Atord Nordus asked, what was the reason behind giving the new clan a starter relic instead of simply changing the mechanic of cards for that faction? Right, basically, we had also, this is one that has a lot of internal debate, so I'll try to encapsulate a bit of that, which is basically like, well, it's sort of a rule for the clan, and originally it was just the way the clan worked, and some of us are like, oh, maybe that's fine. Other people were like, well, we kind of remind you of mechanics and game rules through artifacts, so maybe it would be better to have a constant reminder on your screen in some way you can access it to show that what's going on and where this is coming from. So that said, I think it's still an area that, could have gone either way. And we just basically chose to put it there as a way to sort of reference this unique clan mechanic. So if you're just like, where's this coming from? You can kind of mouse up there and see what's going on. Yep.
Yeah, I think we added stuff like to draft screens if you had a Wormkin as one of your two clans. It just felt wrong, and putting those rules in the artifact slot is definitely more in line with our kind of communication style. All right, let's take one more and then head over to the event. From Genesee, the loop. Can't believe they didn't ask about this. Yeah, guys, come on. So the loop is something that we are referencing much more in this DLC. So we're trying to be more upfront about the fact that you're playing this game over and over and over again, and that's not something that we've ever referenced explicitly in any of the lore of. It's kind of weird that you're beating Seraph hundreds and thousands of times. So speaking of maybe this event, we'll talk a little bit about that. You sense an overwhelming presence pulse through, like a booming power stretching through all of existence. The understanding eludes me for why one with such little power as yourself continues to fight for a world that has already been condemned to die. Divinity's created this world, not for you, never for you, but for us. It was a game for the child to judge souls as good or as evil. We did not care for this lowly play, but the creation of this world took less than a breath. Time was my domain and life was the mother's. The divine presence vanishes, some lingering power left behind in its wake. So this is some deep, deep lore. So one of the things that we've added with all these new events is this is the last Divinity talking to you. And these will show up after you've beaten the last Divinity for the first time. So you kind of have an ongoing conversation with this guy of why he is such a sad boy and why some of this conflict exists in the first place. So it'll make references to, Seraph and some of the Covenant and the Rail and all these things that have happened, but also revisiting some of these areas like the metal contraption where you build a card and where the pyro is created. The Divinity is going to bring you back there and talk a little bit about that. So this is very much like deep lore events for those people that want those. But in terms of mechanics, it makes you feel super powerful for a battle. We're going to give you a new artifact. There's a handful of artifacts that are divine variants. So you get one of these, they can double up with things that you already have. So you can duplicate, or you can get duplicate artifacts, but they only stick around for a battle. So they're just a pure bonus for a battle. Yeah, and there are several of these. So these will pop up randomly. There's not a Caverns event. They're the in-between rings sort of thing, as someone had mentioned them being karmic. Yeah, so that's the Divinity. Keep an eye out for these.
Which one? Which one's your favorite?
Ooh, Divine Exploding Candle. Just because,
Yeah,
you know,
that's pretty good.
exploding candles as
Ought to be
Divine just
divine.
seems fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was our list of events.
Yeah.
So
So there's
now,
more,
yeah, so
definitely
many
more that
more.
we didn't show, but those are kind of some of the new ones. Um, yeah, lots of questions. You want to take a couple mechanics related ones?
Oh, if I have to.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's see what we got. Ulam King has asked, do you see more people saying the final boss is hard or more people saying he's easy? Uh, that is a very good question. For things like that, we actually don't really look at verbalized feedback. We do to some degree just because we want to know what perception is. But fundamentally for tuning, we have a lot of data. We gather the data on that. Um, it is harder. It is the hardest battle. I'll tell you that. It does make the game more challenging, which is the goal. Obviously, there's things. We did add 2 different covenant levels. So at covenant, I want to say 10 and 25. It could be 15. We did add things that make the impact of shards increased. So at Covenant 1 or Covenant 0, you can't get access to these new features. Covenant 1, you won't see the level of challenge that we intend for all of this, but by the time you hit later Covenants, you definitely will be, and you'll see that challenge ramp up. So as usual, you want the earlier Covenants to sort of help you learn the game and learn the mechanics and master the game, and then later Covenants really challenge your skill. And a few more questions here. So Silichloy? Sorry if I got that wrong. I probably did. Will there be more love for the poor train stewards? More love? Isn't there enough love? They are
We love
intended.
our train
We
stewards.
do love our train stewards. That said, they are kind of there to be temporary. We hope with synthesis, there's another use for them. But we never want to. All right, I won't say what the other thing. Anyway, maybe if we do some future update, we got some ideas. But yes. Fly Penguin. Are the cavern events triggered by certain shard levels? That's a question probably for you.
Some are. So like the event that we just saw where the last Divinity is talking to, those are all triggered by various shard levels. Many of them over the 100, like the 100 you need to see the last Divinity. There are some events that are triggered past that threshold. So there is some incentive to go over if you really just want to punish yourself. Shirkstalker asks, for the cards that do random targeting, will the merge card effects apply to 1 random enemy or 2 random enemies? They will apply to 1, if I recall correctly. Actually, the way I think it works is, depending on what you merge it with, it might apply to more than 1. That's where it gets kind of crazy. Is there's some targeting fudging that we do with the spell merging where if you merge like a random target spell with a room target spell, then I think the room target spell actually takes over, so the random target spell becomes way more powerful. So possibly something abusive. Not great, but we'll see.
Here's another question that's actually, so we've got some of our developers and folks working on the game in chat. Merimo Coder, Carnix has been doing a lot of the balance and tuning for this update. So I'm going to ask a question and actually have them answer it in chat, and I will read the answer if it comes in, or if there is a solid answer. So the question is, Awesome3475 asked, what is the reason to nerf double stack and not holdover? And maybe Decarnix will answer it in chat, and I will say it out loud, obviously, for the people who aren't reading chat, but also folks in chat can interact there. In the meantime, Brendan, if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. Jow Jacob 22 asks, if the 4 elemental titans were sacrificed to create the pyre, how come the Stygian titan is still alive? It's sacrifice of like souls, less so than body. But that's a good catch.
And Decarnix says it was before his time. That was Friends and Foes when I was doing all the balancing. So the answer I would have for you is it's been a little while. But in general, we do collect a lot of data. And if we adjusted one and not the other, it was generally because there was more opportunity to break something. So I will say that sort of abstractly for you. And I'll throw it back into Carnix. If it's still broken right now, or if there's something that's out of balance, we are looking at a lot of data from our weekend. We're making a lot of changes still. It's certainly possible there are things, even in older content, that we might adjust given all of the new stuff that exists.
Yeah. MTAR asks, UI for sacrificing a unit is a little bit slow. Not sure hiding the sacrifice button behind a toggle is the best solution, but would really like to see the unit and the sacrifice bonuses simultaneously somehow. So that's actually something that we've changed post the public test. It is faster than it was. There's been some additional polish, some additional timing tweaks, so it does happen a lot more quickly than it did previously. You can also click through that. So kind of like events where you can click through, speed up the text, and really just like speed through rewards if you know what you're doing. The same can be said for sacrificing units, where you can just slam through all that animation. All right. Let's see. Headless Joker. What race or clan does Hef belong to? She does not belong to any specific clan. She is, as you see on her card, she has a specific subtype to her called Titan Spawn. There's some lore surrounding her lineage and who she's related to in lore capacities throughout the world. I know that there's a whole lore channel on Discord that has figured this out and talked about it. A lot of different people have talked about it. So if you're curious, I encourage you to go there. But she is related to various Titans, of which there are several, not just the one that you see in the Stygian ring, but many, which you'll learn more about in this DLC, as well as previous updates. There are some lore in there as well. Mars Greek God, can you do this event without making her angry? I think he's referring to the Hef event.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you can't. Hef, kind of like Divinity, she's just she's mad. She's just kind of angry, and she thaws a little bit later on in some events that are more end game events. But you know, she's always gonna be pissed. She's in the cold. She's really not a fan of the cold, and that is just drives her whole prickly demeanor all the time.
All right. Well, I think we've answered almost everything. We're getting close.
Yeah. Let's see.
Now people are asking for things we're never going to do. New protagonist asks, is there a plan of increasing shop options through Relic maybe? You never see multi-strike. To some degree, randomness is a component, obviously, of the game. And also to some degree, there's things that are, even if we'd like to maybe try to do it through an artifact, could be fun. That UI is obviously very baked in a certain way. It would be very challenging for us to modify that to the point where it's unlikely it's something we'd probably explore. So we do. I mean, sometimes we spend a lot of time doing new features, like with spell merging, or unit merging, or any of these things. But we try to do it when it's going to really expand the space of the game, and if it's something that's going to be a lot of work for something that's not going to show up quite as much, like in that case, we probably won't do it.
All right, not so much a question, but a comment. Agony the Vampire Werewolf, great name. I'm so curious about the bestie thing with Malika. So are we. Marimo should comment a little bit more about that in chat, but
yeah, you guys can just
she's a funny one.
hang out with Marimo all the time.
Yeah.
Talk about Malika. He'd love it. Amphid asks, who's your favorite Wormkin? Wormy Dude is my favorite. I don't know about Brad.
Forever Wormy Dude.
Forever Wormy Dude.
I really like Echo Right. She's been fun. A lot of these characters, this would be awesome to talk about later, is a lot of these units really don't come to life until we do our VO sessions. So DB Cooper and Michael Schwalbe, shout out to them. They're awesome VO actors that we've worked with on Monster Train. And for this clan in particular, we had some ideas, as we usually do, going into it, of like, here is the spine chief of the Echo Right, but they really bring a lot of their own personality and character to the things that they're voicing. And Echo Right was one where we hadn't quite finished the art yet when we were recording, and we had this idea of like a beetle-looking thing on a cannon motorcycle. and she was like, "All right, I got this," and then just totally knocked it out of the park. So Echo Right has been pretty awesome.
I was like Bogfly. Bogfly, just a nice way to deal some damage. Use those. It's kind of cute in a creepy way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, this clan, we really when we had making the original game, we're making like 5 clans at once and a lot of stuff going on, and making like one, I think we just really focused on it a lot and added a lot to it, which is great. Like, we also expect a lot of players who you guys have played the game, some of you hundreds of hours. We wanted to, for bringing you a new clan, we wanted to do something that really you could spend another 100 hours with, combining it with all your favorites. And that was the goal. So hopefully that is true.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Marguerite Boras, do you intend to continue working on the game after the DLC is all said and done? And thanks for the great game. Thanks for playing. Nothing to announce right now. We definitely, have ideas of things I want to do.
But we're super focused on the DLC. It's our life at the moment. We are bringing you the best update possible, and then after that, we're gonna see.
Yeah. And then follow up to that, J-Dog the Joker. Will there ever be a clan made up of Seraph deserters, a clan of angels that have decided to help the Bone Shaker instead of halt it? Again, nothing to announce.
Yeah, we've
Again,
never
something we've
never
about.
thought about or talked about. Never once. No.
Nope.
Not even all the time.
No.
So, yeah. Now we hear the community, I think, loves that one. So we want to give you guys what you want. That's what we're here to do. Sometimes.
And kind of go through these. Ethanol 314 was the glob an inspiration towards any of the artwork. Well, considering I probably butchered that name and don't know what it is, I no, at least not for me. It's very possible some of the artists it was, but yeah.
There's a question.
Hey, go ahead.
Oh, did we fix Carapace? And Memo says we fixed Carapace. So yes, fixed.
Boom.
Done. Question answered.
So hey, 2 are the cat merchants from one of the 9 clans, or are they not natives of Hell? My headcanon is that they're all the developers' cats, and they don't actually exist in Hell. They are bigger than the divinities. That's the next final boss. All the cats.
That's real lore, straight out of Brendan's mouth. Light Phoenix 23, modders be able to add pages to the tracking. Actually, I'm not sure offhand. I would hope so. They often know more about what they're able to do than we do. So I would say go ahead and ask. Modders have had access for a while. We generally also let them have continued access. If you are a modder, if you're doing a bunch of modding, we can talk as well offline through Discord, stuff like that. We can get you a bit of access before launch to make sure your stuff is up to date. For the launch for DLC, we know we're changing things with the base game. But
yeah. All that being said, since we've made those UI changes, it should be easier than it would have been previously.
Right.
So yeah, but reach out.
Speaking of which, if people haven't seen that page in the logbook, I imagine most of you guys explored it. Most of you guys were on beta. We've shown it off on streams, but just to show it off, this is the old sort of tracking. Here is the DLC tracking. So there is Divine Victories with all combinations. There's Divine Card Mastery. There is Mastering all of the new content. There's all the clan combos with Wormkin. Also, there are new Mastery card frames. You gotta click over here. These look incredible. They look even better, obviously, in color. And there's some work to do. People were getting all of the frames, and we were just, we were like, you've got to unlock everything. So Divine Victory with all clans, pretty straightforward. 6 clans, you can knock that out. You can do that. 25 expert challenges with Divine Victories. This one looks incredible, though. This is like stained glass. This is an amazing frame. And then Divine Victory, Covenant 25, all clan combinations. And this also just an incredible frame. And, hopefully that'll tide you over to the next, whatever it is that we do. That's the goal with that one. So good luck to everyone. But those frames you also all spend a lot of time on, so they all look really good.
Yeah, they do look good. Sweet Cheesetaker asks, will there be multiple Divinity stamps like there are card borders? No. So the Divinity stamp, if you just want to pull up and show that real quick, is just going to be shown in the text box of the
So
card.
I've got it on
and
all mine right now, yeah.
Yeah, you've mastered the game.
I definitely played the game enough to do this without cheating.
But that's the only one that we plan on having right now.
Yeah, it's definitely like we wanted to add a little decoration there. The frames were already doing what we wanted to give you a reason to do that, to really show that off. So this was a little boost for Divine Mastering cards. So yep, no intention to really change it. They're gonna just be there, little subtle effect, but you can still see it.
Mm-hmm. Life Phoenix 23. What's the lore behind Hef's made to fit buff? She made herself to fit. She knew she was going to come along, so she just kind of squeezed herself down and then hammered herself in, I guess.
Sure, just self-bonk with the hammer.
Exactly.
Knock down the size. Great. Well, on that note, I think we have about hit time. So
yeah,
finally, no more questions ever. No, really appreciate it. We will see you guys. We are on Discord. Obviously, we are here doing streams, same time every week. At this point, we are very focused on DLC polish. Still a bit of ways out. Still doing some work here. Still pulling in all that data. It is basically like launching the game again in a lot of ways, the level of polish we're looking to do. And then on top of that, obviously, we're going to be bringing this to all the platforms we are on, including Game Pass, Xbox, all those great places. So, right. And we're going to launch it on all of them at the same time. And so we're looking forward to seeing you guys there and online, Discord, etc., and everything else. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for chatting with us. And we'll see you guys around.
Bye, everybody.